quickly. I'm just going to make sure that we've got the feed and everything running right. We'll just have an extra long class from now. Right, so here we go. Excellent. Right, okay, so I think we'll start off with Peter, and then I'll talk about my venting yesterday, which succeeded, and
I got this piece of archaeology to show you.
oh right, yeah. So what have you got for that, Anne? Because I know where we're going.
Well, obviously, I thought it was quite interesting because it was so decorative, but it could be. Now, I want to try and put it.
Up, I can't see. Me and Richard can't see shit.
Oh, where
We
am
can see
I?
two dots. We can see two dots.
Need to come away a bit further. Then.
Right, right. Lift it up in the air then. Right. Oh yeah. What? We bring it to for closer towards the screen. What are we looking at?
Well, it's a flattened disc. I think it's a watch.
Right.
I think it's a fob watch. But it was,
So where?
but it's
Right.
got like a crown on it, and it's quite it's been flattened, it's been in a garden.
Right. You can put it down now, Anne. Yeah, that's fine.
It's been flattened, and it's squashed. Squashed it is. But I still think it's either a fob watch or, one part of it, the clothes, it might be just one part of it. And it
So
looks like
hang on a minute, Anne. Where is this then?
well, it's on Archaeology Cymru, my site,
Oh
Bridgend,
right. Okay.
Bridgend
All
Archaeology
right then. We may as well give going on. We'll give going on Facebook a go. We may as well. Right.
And yeah,
So
Bridgend Archaeology Cymru group.
right, so where's my Facebook thingamajig? We got Baldrick. Right, Facebook. Right, okay. There it is. Symbol for Facebook. Right, all right. Right, so what are we typing in, Anne?
Bridgend Archaeology Cymru.
There. Well,
Oh,
what the hell's that?
that's my brother's poppy.
All right, we'll
It's
get on
mine.
you.
No, it's
Oh
not
my God.
mine.
Hey, guys,
Yeah,
this is really,
yeah.
this is really weird because this
Oh,
is really weird because
it's not on
it,
there. Go
I,
down. Go down. Back down.
is that me there?
No. You
Right,
have
okay.
That's St. John's house.
Yeah,
It's
and what are we looking at?
gone. Oh, no,
Where is it?
it's gone. This is supposed to be underneath where I put sadness, for Peter. Uh, it's not down there. It's right at the top.
So is it actually in the messages with, yeah, the comments? No.
Oh,
Reply.
No, I can't see it.
Reply.
no, it's not there. Go back down. What could it be? I couldn't.
Well, we know they're at the amphitheatre in Killeen with Chris Cross-Gofferson.
Yeah.
Um, and you've taken us on a total bloody journey here, and we can't find anything.
Are there two sites for Bridgend Archaeology Cymru? No, I mean that's the one I put. No, it's just below the.
It's not right. All right then.
No,
Right,
there.
right. Okay, okay. There is two Bridgend Archaeology Cymru's, as far as I knew. Anyway, Bridgend.
No, I think it's just you might have taken it off.
Who did?
The man.
What man?
The man who put it on.
Well, that's a lot. You took a photograph of it, though.
I took, yeah, I know. I printed it off the Bridgend Archaeology Cymru site, but I don't know where it is now on yours. Perhaps
Well,
Oh,
is it there? Is,
no, no, it's the one with the food thing on, the dishes.
hang on, hang
Yeah,
on.
it's
This is the
this
same.
one.
Hang
It's
on.
this
This is
one.
the same.
No.
No.
Oh. Oh.
And you've taken us on a total bloody
I'm
wild goose
so
chase now. I don't know what
sorry.
to do.
I'm so sorry, but you'll have to look at it before next week because
Well,
I could
can you send? Have you got that as an email?
um I'd have to use my computer to do that.
All right, then. Don't worry. We'll get
Mm.
into it. You know, we've gone totally off piece, right? So look, what it was, I had. This is a bit of a weird stick thing, right? We were talking about Peter last Tuesday in the Tuesday class, right?
Mm.
And Andy said, why didn't you give him a call? So I gave him a call, right? And by the way, I'm looking actually quite clear, actually, I think. Am I looking really clear?
Yeah, well, clear enough.
Yeah,
Oh, I
you're
can't
good.
see anyway, but I can't
No,
see clearly anyway.
don't worry, Anne. But anyway, Andy said, "Oh, you're gonna have to give him a ring." So I thought, right, I hadn't spoken to him for a few days, so I gave him a ring. It was on Friday, no, Thursday, and I had no answer. So I thought, all right, then there's nothing up, right? I had no answer. So anyway, I decided to call the hospital, not the hospital. I decided to call Peter again on Friday, probably about 11 or 12 o'clock, and I don't know when I exactly tried to call him, but anyway, I spoke to him and he was there. And I said, "Oh, how's it going, Peter?" And he said, "Oh, is it?" I said, "Is it getting any better?" He said, "It's not."
Mhm.
And he sounded okay.
Okay.
And I said, "Well," he said, "The heart," and he said, "It's the heart." And I said, "Oh," so he said, "Oh," I said,
Let me know if there's anything else I
you're
can
gonna have
help
to
you
have
with.
some stents or something." And he said, "Oh yeah, that's what's gonna have to happen." And I said,
Oh,
"Oh, everybody says hello, and anything
yeah,
I can do or whatever, the usual
yeah,
stuff."
yeah.
And he said, he then said, "Well, okay, yeah." I said, you're causing trouble again, just like Sandra." And he said, "Yeah." So anyway, so he the point was he was that was it. I thought, right, probably speak to him again this week or something. Or he said he was actually coming back to the classes, which was really weird.
Oh,
But
yeah,
what is so strange, right?
yeah.
What is so very strange? I do my daily thing for YouTube about Roman sites, right? And I was trying to find some images of the Roman sites that we visited when
Mm.
we went on our Norfolk trip, right? And you weren't on the Norfolk trip, but you went.
Yeah, yeah, I was, yeah.
Oh, can you remember those big long steps you had to go down in this Roman site, and it was a big long
Oh,
bank.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I was looking at that photograph and I thought, hang on a minute, I can't see Peter in this photograph, right?
Oh,
Um, and the weird thing was, as I looked at the photograph, um, Peter was on the steps, right? But he looked like faded. He looked like a weird ghostly figure. I know in hindsight it's like so strange, but he just
mm,
wasn't very clear. Everybody else was, and he just looked. He just didn't. He looked really small, right?
mm, mm.
Well, he was only behind you, right? He looked really
Yeah,
small. And I thought, oh, this is a bit odd. And I thought, all right, then. Anyway, I couldn't use the photograph because it was like, it wasn't
it's
it wasn't
not a
what I
good
wanted.
photo. No.
It wasn't what I wanted anyway.
Mm.
Anyway, that was it. So it got to Monday,
Yeah.
and I don't often look at my I don't look at my Facebook much at all now. If in fact it's a bit dodgy because I do get messages on Facebook of people wanting to speak to me about different things, and I just don't read them until like 5 or 6 days later, sometimes weeks later. Anyway, this message off Cheryl Garlick, right? Who was actually his daughter, right? And I was reading this message and it said, "Oh, sorry to say, my dad's passed away." And
Um,
it said Peter Sampson, and I thought, who the hell's Peter Sampson? I thought.
Oh,
We got
Oh,
Peter Samson, but who's Peter Samson? There must be two Peter Samsons, I thought, right?
hmm,
I thought this was really odd. Anyway, I thought, oh, I couldn't take it in because I thought, oh, this just don't make sense.
hmm,
Anyway, I, I then, I then, I then found his daughter's number on my phone, and I actually, um, phoned her, and
hmm.
she said, "Oh, look, Dad's passed away. He died. Wait for it. On Friday."
Oh, yeah.
And the weirdest thing with this is, right. I'm going to say it. The weirdest thing with this is, um, it was only a few hours later that Dennis jumped in front of a car in Lanswick Major.
Oh,
You know,
on the
in
same day, like the day.
yeah, no, a few hours later, a few hours later, I phoned him up. I phoned Dennis that day. It was a
Yeah.
Monday, right? And it was like that's the day he walked in front of a car.
Oh,
So
yeah,
then I phoned Peter on the Friday, and he passes away in the
yeah,
afternoon.
yeah.
There's no link, right?
No, no.
But in a way, I just you know, it was good that I spoke to him on the day that he passed away. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah,
so what I thought on Tuesday was that I thought, right, why don't I do a talk on Flato? And I thought, right, I'm not doing a talk on Flato
no.
because it's just not going to make sense, because I'm not going to make sense, right?
Mm,
So I thought, I'm not doing a talk. I'm
mm,
just going to do what I'm meant to be doing today,
yeah,
right? And
which
just carry
is,
on with that.
which is, yeah.
Oh yeah, there is something else. There is something else on Tuesday, right? Um, I completely lost my rag with Cadu, right? Because on the we have waited, right, for 1 year for for a visit from Cadu, right, to
Oh,
to try
yeah.
and to try and spot list that Art Deco gatehouse which witnessed the soldiers as they got on their landing craft, the morning or the day before well, it wouldn't have been the morning of 6th of, well, it may have been as well, but um and I basically thought, right, this is something I wanted Peter to see done because he was passionate about it like me, right?
Mm,
So I was so, my French, pissed off with Cadu. I phoned them up and I basically said, look, I said, if you don't get somebody out to spot list this in the next few days, you know that I've got the power to put a petition up online, and it's going to really embarrass Cadu. And I'm gonna start up my campaign again to have Cadu abolished and all this stuff. And Cadu contacted me back. They said, we'll send somebody out in the next few days to look to make sure it's what we want to be scheduled to be listed. This is what you've got to do with these complete arseholes in Cadu. And I gotta be honest with you. I just wanted. I was so upset that I just took it out on Cadu.
yeah. Well, that's all right.
Because the thing is, they now know that I can put a petition together and it's going to be read out in the Welsh Assembly, right? And we're going to have a positive response, right? So I would have, well, I might actually still do it anyways if they do list it, then I'm just going to do it anyway. It's about time Cadu was trashed, right? Okay then. So that's basically it. Oh, and the other weird thing as well is, right, is on the plaque that we've got for the tower outside Cambridge. It basically says, you know, we've had this donation from Anne, and it's in memory of a brother or whatever. And then we've had a donation from Peter Sampson in memory of Sandra, and now it's going to be um,
Donation.
it has to be in memory of Peter now as well. But we've already had the sign printed.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to add something to it. Anyway, the printer's paid for the sign, so I can't exactly, you know, muck about.
No, no.
So right, so we are gonna. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the wick out of the flame a minute, and I'm just gonna start off with as I did on Tuesday. And what I did on Tuesday, it was thanks to one or two of the boys who sent me the following, right? And I've just got to find it. Right, okay. It was um yeah, Henry sent me a piece, which was like a really detailed piece about what was on the menu in prehistoric Ireland, right? And this was actually printed or published on the yeah, it was printed in the newspaper on the art on it's called RTE News, right? Anyway, it's got what was on the menu in prehistoric Ireland, right? And it's really good. It talks about the Mesolithic period. It then talks about aurochs and red deer and wild boar. It then goes on to looking at shellfish in the Mesolithic, and it talks about 100 native edible plants in Ireland. It doesn't exactly tell me which ones they are, other than hazelnuts. But
He's going
then it goes
back
on.
home.
Then it goes, what?
Do you think he's going back home? He's planning to go back home to live.
Who? Henry?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Um,
He's probably finding this out now for himself.
yeah. No, I think he is. Anyway, it goes then into the Neolithic period, and we're talking about um, the meat menu greatly expanded by the introduction of new strains of cattle. Just look at my hair; it's terrible. Sheep, domestic pig, goat, and occasional red deer. So it's talking about that, but then it goes into it's a really detailed thing. It talks about various introductions of wheat and barley, right? And actually, can I just tell you something there, which is something I've just learnt myself, right? Um, there was we've because we've had such a rubbish season growing, we had a small crop of corn growing, right? And strangely enough, we only harvested the corn. We only harvested the corn about 10 days ago, and and basically we peeled back the corn. We got miniature corn, and we got small corn on the cobs, and this is now in November. And so when it's not, when people talk about in prehistory and medieval period, people have got to harvest their crops at the end of August. Back then, it would have been early part of September, right? But if I can get a tiny miniature crop of corn in November in Great Britain, right? Can you see my point? It's not all the be all and end all. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, this piece that Henry sent me, and then it goes into the Bronze Age, and it talks about the various different peoples and so on in Ireland. But then it goes into the Iron Age about the food, right? And it's also talking about Bronze Age cauldrons. When we were looking at cauldrons, they started introducing these cauldrons, and then
Oh,
we've got the Iron Age,
which
and
is
it's
what?
talk it's talking about 600 years BC, and it's talking about the Iron Age, and it's talking about this idea that some of these sites are used as for feasting, but it's talking about um, the evidence is that we've got lots more evidence of beef and pork being particularly sought after in the Iron Age, and yeah, so this piece is actually really really interesting. So I think another piece that I think it was either Henry or Goff sent me was actually this one here. There isn't really much to illustrate it, so it's actually really it's pointless showing you this. But then again, it might be interesting to actually get this on Google. So I'm gonna see if I can get this other article of the week on Google. And this is actually dated the 15th of November 2024. I think it is actually one of Henry's. But anyway, um, he's not egotistic like me, so he doesn't want to take the credit. So if I type into newly, it should come
Oh,
up
sure, that's
newly
me.
discovered moons of Pluto. Oh, that's not it.
There,
What?
you there, Henry.
Yes.
Oh,
Good
sorry,
evening.
I was talking about you.
Yeah,
I was saying
not.
you might be going back to Ireland, I think.
I've ju- I've been there this year for a while.
Yeah, yeah, it's nice to go just for a holiday.
One way of avoiding inheritance tax.
Pardon?
Yeah.
One way of avoiding inheritance tax.
Oh, don't say that online.
Oh, yeah. We've already had this discussion. This is the article. Yeah, this is the one,
That's it.
and and this is the one that he sent me. Henry sent me. And who the hell's just joined us now? Bill. Oh,
Bill.
right. Right. So basically,
Not to
we've
talk
got.
about Peter again.
Hang on a minute, Anne. Shut up. Right. We're doing this. So basically, this is two newly discovered stone circles on Dartmoor. Right. And the
Oh,
point
yeah.
is that they're talking about these Neolithic stone circles, obviously going into the Bronze Age. And these Neolithic stone circles are like really small, shallow, um, lying stones. And it goes in with the theory that I've mentioned before that these stone circles they're discovering in places like Dartmoor, Devon, in the uplands, may have always been covered up anyway, and it's just due to a little bit of erosion they're actually showing now. You know, when I've mentioned this before, we've talked about stone circles, and I've mentioned that um, some of them may never have wanted to be seen, right? Because when you think about stone circles in lots of areas, in upland areas, you're thinking about the soil the soil itself has slowly eroded away from the bases of these stones, meaning that stones get higher and higher over time. And you start to think that you start and there's Dartmoor there in that box, and it's basically talking about um, this theory that there's a sacred arc of stones which they're now starting to find. There's like a circle of stone circles,
And there's an Irishman there.
and there's an Irishman there. Shut up. So one of the circles appears to have similar features to Stonehenge, but obviously not the typical Stonehenge. So they've not only just found one, they found two. And it's the first time in a long time that they've actually found these stone circles. But one thing I'm going to add is that on a Tuesday evening we used to have a guy called Peter, another Peter, not Peter who's just passed away, but another Peter, right, who actually lives in who actually lives next door to this landscape, and he's been going up there recording these things, and nobody's been interested, and now this is actually in the news. So what they're saying, the article's actually quite sort of boring, really. But oh, hang on a minute. Oh Christ, where's it gone? Where's it gone, Anne? Oh, there. Um, basically, there's a stone circle there, Anne. There.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah. Just.
There we go. There's one. There's another. It comes all the way along here and zooms around like that. So yeah, that's a stone circle. So as I say, and they're you can see that they're actually in a little dell or a cum, right? And and this is in a way, lots of stone circles are placed in different localities. So I thought I'd mention that to you. New stuff being found, and this is being reported in November. So what I want us to do now is I want us to find out if there's anything anyone wants to say, and we've got bald-headed Peter, not Peter, yeah, but Peter was bald. Bill's joined us. So before we, Anne, any news from you?
No, only that that watch thing that I've got to try and show you. Because it was found in a garden above Newcastle. Well, I'm presuming it's Newcastle on Tyne, but it could be Newcastle Bridgend.
Probably Newcastle Bridgend, Dan, because that's in Bridgend.
Is it?
Yeah, I would say, yeah. Well, next time, Anne,
Yes, only
Anne, shut up. Next time, when you get a photograph like that, send it to me and I can show everybody. Me and Richard don't know what the hell you're talking about. Nor does anyone else. Anyway, thank you for that, Anne. Any news from you, Richard?
No, nothing for me.
Right, okay. we got Ruth joined us now. Goff.
No, sadly, I haven't done anything archaeological at all. Very quiet.
Okay, fair enough. Pat.
Nope, I failed to find something ready to look for something, so I can't. Maybe next week.
Okay. Ruth, anything from you and the oxalotl?
Oh, he's doing really well.
Good. The oxalotl, the weird thing in a fish tank. Right.
I bought him a little tunnel,
Oh.
and he drags all his food into it.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, is he a fish?
Yeah.
Or a
No, it's a freaking newt. Right.
newt?
Okay. Right. Okay then. Anything from you, Henry?
This is for Pat, really.
I'm just cooking dinner, so if I pop out, I'll be back.
What, do you want grass to grow below our feet as well? That's fine, Ruth. That's fine. Crack on.
I can hear you.
Yeah. We know that, love. Right. And thanks. You keep there, Henry. Anything you want to say? Go on, Henry. Do it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is for Pat. They've discovered the first firearm in America. It goes back 500 years in Arizona. It's a bronze, like cannon, slightly smaller than a cannon.
So this is going to be Spanish.
So it would have been a bit hard to put on your shoulder, but
So this would be Spanish then, yeah.
They think it's Spanish design, but made in Mexico.
Well,
due to the lack of original Spanish ornate design on it.
Hang on a minute. It can't be 500 years old because the conquistadors, Cortez didn't actually get to Montezuma until 1521.
Well, they're dating it between 1500 and 1520. The metal indicated.
That's nothing.
The Spanish weren't even in America by then. Oh, forget it. They're probably making it up. They are Yanks. They make up all their history. Right. Even the fact that they won the second. What? Anyway, don't worry, Henry. Thanks for that. Mate, you should have sent me a photograph. We could have had a look.
Bear with me.
Yeah, well, we'll have to look at it next week. Do you know what I mean? We can't do it all at once. Right. Okay, then. Bill, anything you want to say? This is so weird tonight.
Yeah.
Bill. Right. Okay. So, yes. So I think anyway, Ruth and Bill has joined us anyway to just sort of for me to say, because we'd actually already mentioned this, but Peter passed away on Friday, and I was one of the last people to speak to him, other than his two daughters after that. And the funeral's on the 20th of December, and they want people to come along. And Peter thoroughly enjoyed the classes. And
where will it be?
I don't know. I'll give you those details again. Anyway, Peter thoroughly enjoyed the classes, and he would have wanted me to pass this on. And I've been told that he used to talk about me a lot, but he obviously used to talk about you guys. And he used to he thoroughly enjoyed everybody's company. And even the time that he touched Pat's leg, but that's something else.
He was a good sport.
What?
He was a good sport, and he liked a little laugh,
Yes, yes, he did. He did. He did. So what we are going to do now, we're going to you know, anyone got anything else to say, they can do it in the break. And what we are going to do now, we're going to crack on to the Loch of Myrton, which we looked at yesterday. And it's a fascinating site that is in Scotland, and it's a site that they constructed in the Iron Age. They constructed a settlement on like marshy, boggy land, right? And it's very odd, this site, but the archaeological evidence is extremely well preserved. It reminded me actually because the thing is, I actually where's this book? Oh yeah, here it is. There's this book which I've got to do a class on, right? And the site that we're going to look at today is at Myrton Loch, and but this is 500 years later than the Must Farm pile dwelling settlement. I was sent this book to review. It cost £45 if anyone wants a copy. We will be doing a separate talk on the contents of this book, but the way we'll be doing it is me going through the book, taking photographs of lots of the images, and just presenting a talk on it, because some of this stuff in this book you have not seen and you will not see unless you buy this book. And as I'm doing a review on it, they're okay with that. So there's loads of really interesting things in this book. So let's crack on. Did somebody actually just hear gunshots?
No. I just sent a video. I just sent a message to you with that picture on it.
Okay, fair. Anyway, thanks for that, Anne. We will have a look.
Right.
We will have a look. Right. So this is what we're going to look at today. This is one of those lectures that is amongst those lectures that I was asked to present, and it's quite detailed actually, and I just think tonight maybe I'm not going to go in as much detail because I just kept talking last night, and it may have been a bit too much. But so what we're going to do, we'll keep it a little bit focused and really looking down at the nitty-gritty. So this press report is from 2013. What you can clearly see there in the middle there, that's actually a half, right? And so if you can think of this, they've got buildings that are constructed in a bog, right? Which they put a platform. They put a platform which then supports a stone fireplace hearth in the middle, right? And then over time, the stone fireplace hearth in the middle is added to as it sinks in the muds below. And this site can be classed as a crannog, or it's very similar to the lake villages at Glastonbury, such as Mere, or the Glastonbury Lake Village, which were excavated at the beginning of the 1900s. And again, the detail there with stone and timber is amazing. And so the excavations themselves were being funded over a decade ago, and the site is known as the Black Loch of Myrton. Basically, they're saying that, you know, it's a loch, but with basically very little water in it, right? Just basically peat. So the excavations there gave us a lot of information, and the detail that I go in today, we look at the different types of wood and what they're being used for. So the wood there on the right is alder wood, and that big chunk of wood there is actually, I think that might be actually a sill beam, but not sure. But that piece of wood there is oak, right? And we've got lots of uses of hazel on the site as well. And it's really interesting to see this. And it's interesting to think that this site, you know, whether you want to call it Lake Village or whether you want to call it a crannog, is extremely rich in archaeology, and only a small part of it's actually been excavated. One of the sites that we will need to do with completing the Iron Age will be the Mere and Glastonbury Lake villages, which I know I've done in the past, but we will saunter on over to them in the future. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at these images, and we're going to try and put some meat on the bones of what we're seeing. And this site itself. Oh, Christ! I forgot. You haven't even seen this site, have you?
Oh,
They did on Tuesday. Oh, right, yeah. Oh God, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, on that. Yeah, you're just special, right? On what, you know, that week that I basically said to everybody, I think it was 2 weeks back, I said to everybody, choose the topic that you want us to do, right?
yeah.
So what we did the Google stuff with the Tuesday class, and this was one of their sites. But the stuff that you're seeing today, you haven't seen before, most of you, right? But so it's quite
Oh,
it's quite a revelation. But that is actually a wooden bead of some kind. That's wood, right? And the preservation of the wooden objects at this site is amazing, right? I will admit that I've made a slight mistake tonight, because I thought you had seen. I thought you guys had seen all the other images, i.e. the image of the wooden bowl that they've actually found at the site, which is 2,400 years old, which I haven't got for you tonight. And they've got lots of pottery, which I thought I'd shown you guys, but anyway, we've got enough to go through anyway tonight, so don't be too put out by that. But anyway, we got enough to look at. The structural remains of this site are absolutely amazing, and one of the objects that we will see, right, is extremely odd, right? And we used a strange expression, didn't we, Ruth, last night? But we won't mention it yet.
Yeah.
So
I can't remember it anyway.
Yeah, that's good. Don't worry about it. So the Black Log at Myrton, the site itself, they've used extensive dendrochronological analysis. And one thing that the dendrochronological analysis tells us, tree ring dating, that's better. Mouthful, dendrochronology. The tree ring dating itself, and the variety of trees and the types of trees tell me that they are the woodland that they used and harvested over hundreds of years for the construction of this site and to make the wonderful things associated with this site. And I think one of the points that we'll make tonight, right, is that if these remains had rotted away, right, albeit that most of the stuff on site is actually wood, right, we'd have very little evidence to say anyone lived here at all. And that's a really weird concept. People lived here because we can see the evidence now. They will have still lived here if the evidence had decayed, right? So the adage is, just because we don't have the evidence doesn't mean to say something hadn't happened there at one time in history. And the best example of that is actually Sutton Hoo. When Basil Brown was excavating Sutton Hoo at the end of the 1930s, he didn't actually find much in the way of wood, but what he found was staining of the wooden timbers of the ship at Sutton Hoo, right? So that's the adage. In absence of evidence doesn't mean to say something wasn't happening there, right? So let's look at this and what we're looking at in this one image, right? And what we're looking at in this image is part of the structure, and that's known as a sill beam, that piece of wood in the middle. And that there is some of the wattle framework that's slotted into the sill beam, which is, they would have actually gone in to these holes, right? So that would have been upright, right? That's what would have supported it, right? So as well as producing the dendrochronology, right, I can tell you that we've got precise dates for when this settlement was constructed. In fact, the precise dates are within a year, right? And last night I went off text, which I'm going to do now. And I'm going to tell you some basic rules about timber on archaeological sites, right? Some people might agree, some people might disagree, right?
Excuse me, Carl, can somebody let Bill on?
What do you mean, can somebody let Bill on? He's already on.
He's got no audio or visual. But that's
Oh, right,
probably,
okay, I'll just stop this a minute. Right.
probably his problem, is it?
Right, but Bill's got audio. It's clear, he's got audio.
Oh, right, okay.
Is he on his mobile?
Yeah, he's got full audio. I can see it on the screen.
No, but is he on his mobile? It might be his mobile that's not letting him see it.
Oh, and the other thing as well is he hasn't got his volume up on his mobile.
Yeah.
Oh, turn the volume up.
Yeah. Anyway, let's crack on. I was just about to tell you some revelations.
Apologies.
I was just about to tell you some revelations, right? Going back to that image. So some basic rules about timber on an archaeological site, and before you get to dendrochronology, right? I know from personal experience, having a woodland to manage, we have got over 100 30 to 40-year-old larch trees, as well as some oak and other trees as well, rowan and sycamore. But they've got 100 larch trees in our woodland, right? And I went down to the woodland the other week, and I thought, right, okay, I've got to cut some trees down, right? Chainsaw's broken at this minute, but oh, Richard, if you can repair a chainsaw, let me know. But basically, my chainsaw's broken. But I went down the woodland and I thought, right, which trees do I need to cut down? Right, this is now in November, and I didn't have a clue. And the reason why I didn't have a clue is there's no growth on the trees, and that is the worst time to cut down trees. Because if you cut down trees in the winter, you might be cutting down you might be cutting a rotten tree down, and that's going to be no good to build with, right? So if you're going to cut down trees, you need to do it at a certain time of year, right? So it's some parts of the world, it might be a good idea to cut down trees in the spring when you can just about see the buds before all the sap is actually rolling up into the boughs of the tree. That might be a good time to cut down trees in the spring, right? Some people would disagree, right? But cutting down trees in the middle of winter is a really bad idea, right? Because the wood is damp as well, and it's not going to be ideal to burn with, right? It's not going to be ideal to build with, and it's not going to be ideal to burn either. If you're going to cut down trees for any reason, you cut them down in the spring, right? So that you can dry out the timber. You can kneel it. You can do whatever you need to do with the trees. That you can build with them even green, right? But the fact of the matter is that they're going to be drier than if you cut them down in the winter months. So those are some key rules. So as we go into this text and we try to understand what's going on. So the site itself at Black Loch of Myrton, and we'll show you where this is. We've got a little map there, and you can see the box there, and we've got a little. Oh, hang on, we've just lost my thingamajig. A minute. Oh, there we go. And what we've got there is annotate. You can see it's then that part of Scotland. Hang on, no, it's that part hang on. What's going on here a minute? Right, okay. So the part of Scotland we're looking at is it going to show me? There. No, wrong. No, not there. Up there, yeah, the other dot. There it is. And there, I can't really draw with this bloody thing. Anyway, the point is, the site we're looking at is the Black Loch of Myrton. And what it is a really shallow loch, right? And in places, it's just basically mud, right? And that's what they built on. And somebody said last night a really interesting. They asked a really interesting question, right? Why did people build on lochs, and why did people build in marshy areas like Must Farm? Why did people build in like a boggy, peaty area like the Black Loch of Myrton? Why did they build in some of these areas when they could just build on dry land, right? And the same question is, why in the Mesolithic period did they build Scarborough basically on a boggy, marshy landscape when they could have just built it on dry land, right? And the usual answer that archaeologists have, the reason is that they're building on lochs, and the reason that they're building in marshy areas is because there's not enough land for them to build on, which is absolute nonsense. Because when you think about the population of Britain back in the Iron Age, it's no more possibly than 2 million people, right? The population of Britain is nearly 70 million, right? So, but you can still go from one end of Britain to the next, as long as you get your route properly without seeing a human being, right? Back then, with 2 million people, there's so much land, you might not see anyone in your entire lifetime, right? So there's no competition for land at all. So the mystery of why they're building in these areas is still a mystery. That's the point, right? So if we again, back to this, and we'll move on to some other images in a minute. So there's an area called Dumfries and Galloway. It's called a shallow loch. And when we're referring to these buildings as crannogs, a crannog is an artificial island, right, within a watery landscape. But this isn't a boggy landscape, in a pseudo dry, a little bit of water landscape, right? So it's buildings basically put onto the mud, right, and they sink down into the mud. So this is why they've got to build them up over time. But again, at this time in the Iron Age, we're talking about 400 years BC. The settlement itself is, the temperature's warmer, at least 2 degrees warmer than it is today. So when they excavated the site, they found a number of buildings, and some of the material, some of the archaeology from this site still stands nearly up to 0.5 meter high, right, poking out the mud. And this is a really interesting image because it actually says the double-skinned outer wall of structure 2 was constructed of large oak planks, and the outermost wall lies on the top of the photograph, and the ranging rods lie along the cavity between the walls. So in other words, the outermost wall lies to the top of the photograph. So all the timbers you can see are timbers that have come away from the building as the buildings collapsed and decayed. But it's interesting that we've actually got cavity walling within these buildings in the Iron Age, which is actually not too far away from the building that I'm living in. We've got a cavity wall that's about, the cavity in the wall is in places 0.5 foot thick, right? It's stuffed with clothes, cuddly toys, fleeces, all sorts of stuff, right? But it adds for insulation. The other thing about this site is that if we look at the plan, we've got this grey little strip down the middle. We've got a walkway. We've got these buildings here, 1, 2, and 5. There are other buildings there as well. And what we can see is that these lines here indicate palisades over certain periods of time, so that the site expanded. But this site was used for hundreds of years. I'm going to ask one of you a trick question. We did, and one of them got it right last night, actually. The Must Farm site. which is a Bronze Age site, and this is an Iron Age site. Must Farm site is 500 years younger than this site. Older, not younger. This is younger than Must Farm. Must Farm is older, so it's 1,000 years BC. Must Farm. Does anyone remember how long Must Farm was actually occupied for? Anyone?
10 years?
If you knock the naught off, Anne, you've got 1 year. This site itself, the buildings in pink there, ST2 and 5 and whatever, those ones were actually constructed over the case of 1 single year. And there's another rule with timber. And the rule with timber is quite apt, right? When you cut trees down, you don't let them lie around, right? There's a person online called Country Boy who's on YouTube now, and he's mentioning about using wood as totem poles, which is completely correct, right? But yeah, if you've got a tree that's been felled, right? In this case, this managed woodland, right? So the trees have only been growing for 30, 40, 50 years. And in fact, some of the numbers that we've got is that some of the trees only grew for precisely 31 years before they were felled. And the archaeologists have worked this out. And this goes back 2,430 odd years. They know that, which I think is just one of those unbelievable facts, right? Yes, they can work that out. Amazing. But we're going to go on to that detail, right? The reason why you're not going to leave trees around after they've been felled is because as soon as trees are cut down, they start to rot, right? So they start to decay. So if they start to decay and water starts to inundate and replace the sap and actually start to get in between the bark and the wood and all the rest of it, the wood starts to rot. So you're not going to leave the trees to hang around. The other thing as well is you're not going to allow the timber to hang around. The other thing as well is if it's lying around, somebody else is going to nab it, right? That's the rule. No, nobody owns a tree. If you use a tree first, right, then you use it. If you leave it around, then somebody else is going to use it. That's it. There's no ownership. You've cut a tree down and you've left it there, you stupid bugger, right? So I think this is absolutely fascinating and amazing that we're actually seeing this site, right, in such a fine set of preservation. And the work at this site has only been going on for the just over a decade, right? So lots of the best archaeology, folks, lots of the absolutely stunning archaeology has actually been taking place over the last decade. Must Farm, we've got this wonderful site in Scotland. You look at the archaeology that's coming up from the Nessa Brodgar. You know, all this stuff has been only going on really in the details that they have for the past decade, except that they've been excavated the Nessa Brodgar a bit longer, but that's not the point. So if we look at this image, this is absolutely fascinating. There at the top of the screen is a trackway, right, constructed of alder logs, right, and then there you've got a wickerwork fence which lined the track. Right now, there's one interesting fact that we're looking at with this image. All the timber is the same age. And that tells us that this is from a managed woodland. End of. There's no argument, right? I don't care what anyone says. That's from a managed woodland. You can't, if it's not from a managed woodland, lots of that wood would be split, right? Or quartered, or whatever sections that you've got. Oh, and there's something with wording, right? If you've got a full-blown dendrochronological lecture, right, and somebody looking at woodland management, when they refer to as the trees being cut down for timber, it means that it's being used for building. If the tree is being cut down for wood, it's being used for fire. There's a few throwaway facts for you. So the dendrochronological analysis of the wood used to construct the settlement has together with an extensive radiocarbon dating program, enabled us to develop a detailed chronology for its development from initial construction to abandonment. Analysis of the oak has provided precise on the nail, smack bang on the nail, within a few months for the site, while analysis of the alder, hazel, and a little bit of ash has provided additional information on the relationship between structures and their durations. There were 3 main episodes of activity on the settlement, right? And there was a bit of confusion last night when they used the word episode as opposed to word phases, right? A phase is within an individual site. So when you look at a church, you've got a church built over there, and you've got phase 1, early medieval, medieval, Tudor, right? The church is abandoned. That's episode 1. And over there, they build a chapel, say, I don't know, 1600, right? That's episode 2. And that has several phases of building. The chapel falls in disrepair. And in 1900, they build a synagogue, right? So that's episode 3, right? So that's a little bit of a metaphor. So this is all, when we look at the plan, what we do know is that the site is being developed over a long period of time. So the pink buildings there that we know of, there's more buildings there, are the earlier buildings, and the grey buildings are the later buildings. And you've got the trackway going through the middle. And the trackway going through the middle, what we've got is stop doing this. The trackway going through the the trackway going through the middle, which is there, right? And what you have a gateway there, you've got a gateway there, you've got another gateway there, and the gateways were principally made of oak, right? And these buildings are quite sizable buildings as well. They're really interesting, sizable buildings, right? So let's move on a little bit more and show you another chart. So what we got is lots of charts. And one thing I didn't do last night was to go through these charts in massive detail, right? I didn't actually go through these charts in massive detail. And the reason why I didn't do that was because it just sort of took away the narrative, but for what we were trying to do, right? And it's sort of saying that there may have been earlier stuff going on, which goes on before the 500 years BC. But what is interesting to us is this line here, not that there. What is interesting to us is that line there, right? Those are fell dates for trees, right? Those are fell dates, right? And what we can clearly see from that is if we go down, the fell dates are basically telling us that the trees were felled roughly somewhere around 436 for the buildings to be constructed and lived in by 435. And that is preciseness. And this is why dendrochronology is so very, very useful to archaeologists and trying to understand amazing sites like this. So showing the chronological relationships between the dendrochronology at the site, and the other thing as well is what we don't know, what we don't really know with this site is how much more there is there. There might be much more to be seen at this site, and there's so many of these charts. I just chuck these charts in the background to sort of add a little bit more padding, but. They what they're saying is that some of the initial timbers were felled initially in the 437 to sort of prepare the site, and what they did, they created a trackway across the site. So what we've got is the trackway goes in first. That grey thing across the site that goes in first, right? So that work progresses into the interior with the construction of a palisade of alder posts with oak gate posts. Like we've already mentioned that these areas here, not that there. These areas here are the ones with the gateposts, right? So these areas here, those are the gateposts along the trackway. So so what we've got is you've got development. So they put a trackway across the site first, and so the trackway is made of alder. And then we've already seen an image of the trackway. And then what they're saying is that the gateposts, the oak gateposts, were put in roughly around 436, the winter and spring of 435. And in 435, they constructed in the spring of 435 and the summer, they constructed these buildings ST1, and obviously there's a relationship with ST2 and ST5, right? So we've got a precise time there, and these buildings were being constructed 435, and then in the spring and the summer, where the timber was cut down, and people were actually living there. They had been built. They'd been built within that year of 435. So within about less than 6 months, they're ready to go. Everything's ready to go on the site, which is great. And so they're not messing around. I don't want to live in tents in the winter of 435 BC, going into the spring of 434. So what we then get is an idea of the dendrochronology of the archaeology at the buildings there, the ST2s and the ST1s. And then what we've got, yeah, is that nothing else is going on in the construction of the buildings at ST1 and ST2. So by 400 years BC, so 35 years after, the buildings ST1, ST2 were probably abandoned, right? Because nothing else was happening to them, right? So then what we've got is something very, very interesting, right? That the buildings of ST2 and ST1 used a lot of oak. But the new buildings there, the grey ones, didn't use a lot of oak. And it is rather interesting to think that they've run out of substantial oak in their woodlands, so they're using a lot more alder. So alder is being used in the main construction of these buildings, ST6 and so on. And again, then oak starts to come into play again. So what we've got is that these are the new buildings on the site. But what is absolutely fascinating is that there are people still living here in the 250s, right? And that's amazing that this site is used for such a long, long time. And what we've got is where the yellow stuff is on there, which is episode 3, right? What they've got more another palisade being added. So they've got 3 sets of palisades. They've got an internal, a palisade. Basically, what we're talking about with the palisade here is back to this plan. What we're talking about with the palisade here is just basically upright timbers put into the mud, all connected together with binding, right? So basically, as the site is expanding and they're abandoning the inside of the site, right? So it's basically going this way, right? So it's like a circle expanding. So the inside area is probably used for the animals, right? So they start to move out further and further. So these palisades, I've said again, these palisades here tell us of the site expanding. So in other words, the buildings that are living in sort of move further and further out. So the inside area is probably used for storing animals and various other bits and pieces. Right. So again, this is a fascinating way of looking at prehistory, fascinating way of looking at this wonderful, very, very expanding site. And then what we've got, just to sort of get to the nitty gritty, obviously what you can see there, just a reminder, you've got the trackway. That's our trackway. To get to the nitty gritty, what we've got is it's very likely that the last building on site, and this is going to sound again really interesting, the last building on site of anything substantial is 223 BC. You can't make this up. You know when I'm given these things, and an archaeologist says, "Oh, we've got a radiocarbon date," and a radiocarbon date says 30 years here and there on the 14th of October, 1215, or whatever, right? But in this site, there's no jokes. The dendrochronology stuff tells us that this site, the last building work at this site was in 223 BC, right? So this site, incredibly, was being used for over 200 years. And it's saying that the settlement wasn't probably abandoned for about another 20, 30 years after that. By about 200 or maybe the 190s years BC, right? So this is hugely impressive that they've got all these charts looking, and they're analysing obviously the oak planks there and the usage of the oak planks. That's one of the tables. Hazel being used there as well. The alder being used as well. The frequency and use of the alder, right? And that there is the outside entrance of one of the buildings, right? So the oak plank facade to the left of the entrance, and what you've got there is the wicker work. You could just about see the wicker work again. So remember, that's some of the wicker work. These planks are standing again up to half a meter at their original level as they would have been exposed. And that's obviously not a crocodile. That's another piece of timber. These are all the sort of planking constructions that you'd actually see. I don't know if some of you went to the Jorvik Viking Centre with me, and that's exactly how these Viking buildings were built. The Jorvik Viking Centre. And interesting enough, when we look at when we look at the archaeological evidence from Dublin, for example, from the 900s, and we look at the archaeological evidence that we see from York, similar time span, we look at planked constructed buildings, and what the ones at Dublin and what the ones at York have got in common is that they're built in sort of boggy, unpleasant, fly-ridden, smelly landscapes. And you're thinking, why? You can understand that with York, and you can understand that with Dublin, because the Irish are not really happy having these bloody hairy, red-headed, Vikings wander around. But this time that we're talking about the Loch of Myrton, there are not many people around, and you're just thinking, why? What? There's something we're missing. There's something we're missing in the archaeology that really we're not understanding with why they're building in these landscapes. They're not building these things in these landscapes for defensive reasons, right? If you want a defensive reasons, you build a structure on top of a hill, right? That's the best thing to do. Do you know where I live, right? We've got we've got if I stand at a certain place, I've got about a 220-degree view of that part of the landscape, right? Just stand at one space. So if I was threatened with anyone coming, right, I'd be able to see that they're coming. Living in a boggy area is really, really odd, right? So we don't really know why, and we're not going to answer that tonight. But listen to this, right? Listen to this. That they're in the last phase of the construction of these buildings. They're using timbers. They're using relatively young oak timbers that are 67 years old. You can't make it up, because it's like saying, why 67 years old? So it must be a few generations back, somebody said, we're going to plant these trees. Nobody's going to touch them. Nobody's going to touch these trees for this amount of time. And it happens to be they're felling them at 67 years old, which I think is absolutely, well, very interesting, because we've got precise dates. Today is the same as woodland management today across Wales. right? I know the Welsh Assembly government wants to plant 1 million trees a year or whatever, but in Wales we fell about 1 million trees a year as well, so there's no gain. But these trees are actually felled at a certain time that they can actually be used, right? And this is another weird fact, right? Another weird fact that where's one of those images? Alder. Have we got alder wood there? We haven't got any alder wood. Oh yeah, we got some alder wood on the left there. Those alder wood there. The alder wood in the construction of some of these buildings was felled at 31 years old. And it's just thinking that you've got that tempo, that tempo of activity, that they're managing the woodlands very well. And that comes into my point again, that if you're managing your woodlands very, very well, right, then it means that you're not being attacked and raped and pillaged every 5 minutes, because you're able to say those woods over there are going to be for generation X, right? And they're going to be felled whenever. It happened to be 31 years old or 67 years, whatever, right? So again, this is, extremely amazing, fascinating archaeology, and trying to understand how this whole thing pans out. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at some images. I'm looking forward to my donut. So we're going to have a date. We're going to have a break in 14 minutes, right? And how did I do this last night? I stopped. I looked through a load of images, and oh yeah, we did the special object, didn't we, Ruth? Right, okay. So this, now ignore what the description says, right? Because it threw me last night because it's wrong, right? That the part of it is correct. So the piece of oak in the middle, right? That's a sill beam, right? Those go in the slots, right? They're fastened in the slots, right? So that's the sill beam. The stakes of the outer wall are visible to the left. Yeah. And the wicker screens formed the subfloor of phase 1 building, right? Now, that's actually wrong. It's not flooring, it's walling, right? The flooring is actually, description's wrong. We worked that out last night very well. The flooring itself is actually on this side. Yeah, that's the flooring, right? So these have actually just fallen out and fallen flat. You're not going to use that for flooring. It's just not. It's walling, right? So you can see the preservation there. It's absolutely unbelievable, the preservation of something that's over 2,400 years old. It's survived. Again, back to that point, back to the real point, that 2 points here. If we didn't have any of this, we wouldn't know sodding anything, right? We wouldn't know anything, right? We wouldn't have any of this evidence at all. We'd just be guessing. Now, I've made wattle hurdles, right? And the way I've constructed wattle hurdles is to actually have a timber like that, the oak timber with the holes in it, right? And you have these uprights, and you weave the hazel in between those uprights, right? And obviously, in that case, not that. These are the uprights, right? You weave it in, right? I'm thinking that the sill beam is actually, it was in situ. They weaved it in situ. For me, that would make more sense. Now, we had a little bit of a weird, I had a little bit of a weird moment last night, and I realized, well, they surely would have had hazel, not hazel. They surely would have had hazel as well as willow. Weeping willow, maybe crack willow, goat willow, all some typical weeping willow, and the point is that's not mentioned in any of the reading, but I reckon that willow grows along boggy, marshy landscapes, right? So I'm thinking that would have been used, but I've got no real evidence of it. Now, this is a very interesting cross section, and the reason why this is interesting There we go. We'll read what it says there. Section through Hearth Mound. Hearth Mound is where the fire is in the middle of the buildings, showing the hearths stacked immediately over each other and the degree to which they have sunk into the peat. Right, they sunk into the peat by 1.5 meters over over approximately one second, over approximately 40 odd years. I had a brain cell movement there. So the pink stuff, the pink stuff, there's no pink stuff. The purpley stuff, yeah, the pinky orangey stuff and the yellow stuff, right? That sequence has built up over 40 odd years, right? And what's happening is if we zoom in on this now, let's zoom in. What's happening is that if we if we go back out a little bit, right? So what's happening is the surface horizon would have actually been across there. Right, that's the original surface horizon. And below that's the muds, right? The PT sort of muds, right? And they just build structures on top of it. It's like, well, okay, guys, I'm going to use the analogy now, right? In Barry, right, where the Asda is, they've got a housing estate next door to it, right? And lots of those buildings have got major subsidence because they built them directly on crap, basically, stuff that's been dumped there, right? And they're getting subsidence, and they've only been up a few years, right? And so in other words, people don't learn. We build in floodplains. We build on. But they were doing it in the Iron Age, but they were happy with it, right? And what they did as this yellow layer here slunked into the mud, right? This hearth here slunked into the mud because the weight. What they then did, they decided to add another platform of stone. And guess what happened after a few years? That slunked into the mud again. So what they did, in 30 years later, they actually built another load of stone, right? And that sort of remained there, right? So we're back to, in other words, we're back to the original level, more or less, right? Where the rest of the house is sort of okay, right? But this bit isn't because it's all gone into the mud. I think this is absolutely fascinating. Do you know what it is? You know what reason why we do these classes is to learn from the past, right? But we don't learn from the past at all. We keep making the same mistakes. However, the point is they were building in this landscape for a reason. And they just kept building in these landscapes, right? You know, Must Farm, up here at Myrton, Glastonbury, Mere, they did it down there, right? Today we build in floodplains because we're plain stupid, right? Most of our major cities on the planet, the Earth, are built in floodplains, except the only country on the planet who decided not to build their new city in the floodplain was Brazil, where Brasilia is quite some miles inland away from the floodplain, because they know that one day Rio de Janeiro will be underwater. But Cardiff, the likes of London, Paris, New York will all be underwater. Well, they will be. If you believe in global warming or not, it's going to happen. So this again, giving you an idea of an entrance into these structures. Look at the way that entrance is built. It's unbelievably well built, right? And somebody's saying online, Country Boy Archaeology, they've said because the king sold you the floodplains. Yeah, but then again, this is in the prehistoric period. There are no kings selling you Jack Diddley. Do you know what I mean? So there we go. We've got this really hefty entrance into these buildings, and this is a normal house, right? Or it's a normal house, so it's got to be the house of a king, right? There's no kings around at this stage. This is an Iron Age community with about 100 people. If you've got a king and an aristocracy, right, who actually does any of the work? No one. Anyway, so it's just like a normal house. People could be exuberant and show their sense of skill, and still be relatively like everybody else. You know, I've built my own house. It doesn't mean to say I'm bloody wealthy, right? I've happened to got land and I've got my own house and it's great. It's lovely, right? You've got your own homes and you live in your way. I live in my way. It's fine. These people did the same thing. It doesn't mean to say that they got status or what. It's fine. There you go. Entrance to a structure, looking into building with the oak planks of the outer wall still in situ. Amazing. Where there, but the entrance. So if we zoom in on this, right, where we zoom in, look at the detail. It's great. So those three slots on either side of the entrance there, those three slots on the either side of the entrance. There we go. What we've got these here, right? Those are for your uprights for your entranceway, right? So what you've got a mixture of oak and you've got a mixture of alder further in. But what you've got here, right, is the cavity. This cavity here, you've got a cavity, right? Now, there's lots of reasons why you're going to have a cavity. And I think we've discussed this a fair bit, right? When we go to the Bruchs of Scotland, right, the Bruchs of Scotland, we've got cavities. Now, the cavity walls, you've got an internal, which is like a meter wide cavity. And you're thinking, well, you can't really stuff that with wool, can you? But when you've got a cavity, there's microclimates going in, which are air barriers and air pockets to stop the wind going through and all the rest of it, right? So it's a similar thing going on with these structures as well, right? And it's something that we're seeing which we don't rightly understand. It's the chicken scenario, isn't it? Can you remember my chicken scenario? Nobody knew why in the doorway of lots of the archaeological evidence for Iron Age buildings, why there's a hollow in the doorway. And archaeologists thought there's a hollow in the doorway because people keep going in and out and they're wearing a hole down. And you're thinking, that's why. No, it's not, because when some archaeologists were sleeping in these buildings, what they noticed was the chickens, they would go to the doorway, right, in the morning, right, as the sun's coming up, and what they would do, they would have dust baths because that area in the doorway is going to warm up because the heat of the sun is going to warm up because the heat in the building is going to be going out of that spot, and the chickens are going to be having a dust bath in where the entrance is, and they can see they've got light. Cock-a-doodle-doo! And that's the point. We don't really understand these things in archaeology unless we get really experimental and really understand what's going on. So I'm loving this. This is something that we've not seen, right? And one of the biggest regrets of my life is not when I was when it was like in 1990, and an archaeologist from the museum called he became the head of the museum. He's now just retired, called Dr. Mark Redknapp. He said, look, Karl, can you come up to my excavation at Langford Crannog and see what we're doing? We'd love to have you there. And you know what? I never went. Right. And it would have been so great to talk about that now. But anyway, what there was at Langford Crannog in Brycheiniog, there was these layers, these compressed layers of all the bits and pieces, you know, all the bits of bracken, and all the bits of hazel, and all the wood, you know, in different layers, compressed and compressed and compressed and compressed. Right. On this one, this is this site cross section of the compressed layers, which were actually built up at this wonderful site, right? And this is what you don't often see a cross section like this. And by the way, we've got 11 people watching online, which is great. So it's obviously going in the right direction tonight. But what we've got is I'm loving these images and these slides, and we've got something very similar. And we've got something very similar when we look at, for example, I'm trying to get the words out, the Must Farm site, right? So what we've got there, you can see it there. There is a hearth inside one of the buildings. They went for their hearths big time. You can't miss these hearths in the middle of the buildings. Obviously, you've got the stones being laid there. You've got a massive slab in the middle. Can you imagine? This is built over basically layers of mud, right? And now they're putting a slab in there that weighs 300 pounds, right? And that's going to push things down even deeper, right? But they're doing this again. They know something that we don't, right? Have you noticed I've not called these people stupid? I call us stupid for building in floodplains. These people continue living in these areas, rebuilding. They knew something that we don't know today. So because it is just a repeated theme all the way across ancient Britain, they could easily building those build in those areas that above water and stay away from water. Evidence that is actually showing there, and wonderful archaeological evidence that is preserved. And basically you can see all the sort of bits of sort of wicker and bits of sort of timber laid down on the ground. By the way, Anne, Tom passes on his regards, and he said to pass on his deep love to you, Anne.
This time.
You can remember Tom, can you? Tom, the young lad that does acting with me. Yeah, that's Tom. He loves you. So remember Tom, little Tom. Anyway, so what you can clearly see there is another entranceway. Their entranceway is slightly different, right? And what you've got is you've got this flooring. Can you notice the difference? This sort of when they're laying down the brushwood there, right? There's another term. When they're laying down the brushwood, they just compacting it and they're just compacting it down. That's not like the wicker work of the walls. It's completely different. And what you can clearly see as you go into the building there, you've got all this oak as well, all this cut oak in the building to create the flooring. They're really into this big time. And again, the level of preservation here is absolutely extraordinary. So what it is, I've been asked online by two of the boys because they want to see you, Anne, particularly Tom, and the dodgy git. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a break. And I feel sorry for the other women that I don't think we have enough exposure for Pat on you.
No.
Right. Anyway, I don't know where Bill's gone, but I think he got fed up. So anyway, Tom said, nice to see you, Anne.
Oh, hello, Tom. What are you doing now? What's he doing?
Well, we'll do that in a minute. Right. Anything you want to say, Goff?
No, I'm just
little.
Anne, shut up. Goff, anything you want to say?
No, forget it. Didn't I?
Anne, go say it.
No, it doesn't matter. Go on. Carry on.
Oh, right, okay. Anne, you've interrupted him now. He wanted to say something. You've upset me now, Anne. Right, Richard.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I like the going on why they're building in these boggy areas or in the middle of lakes. Surely it's because of the wild animals.
So there's obviously. Well, how would you feel about that, Goff? Is there? What would you say?
I was going to say maybe it wasn't boggy when they built it, but the landscape has changed over the thousands of years. Maybe it wasn't a bog, but now it is. I mean, I don't know. Just a thought.
Actually, sometimes people say things, right, and it just suddenly starts to make you think, Goff. And I think you've actually done it. The archaeologists are saying that it's always been boggy there, right? And it just doesn't make sense, the profiling of these sites sometimes, right? And the archaeology is very waterlogged, and the archaeology is very preserved now, right? But does it always mean to say that when they built it at the time, there it is as boggy and as damp as it is today? And the other thing is, Goff's got a point. And this isn't in any of the literature at all. Goff's making a really valuable point there. It's not really examined enough. Remember, the temperature's 2 degrees warmer back then, and I think that's a really good point, Goff. It really is.
And I can hear running water all the time. I don't know why. Am I going bad or something?
I think it's I think Anne's a bit desperate. She's got a pot. She's
I've got a theory on it. I reckon
go on.
that they put them in boggy places so that other like tribes and whatever couldn't get to them so easy, and they'd see them before they got there, so they could shoot them.
That could be a point. There could be a point, but the problem is with that, Ruth, is that there's very little in the way of population, and we're seeing this thing repeated across the country. That would be the other, Ruth. That would be the other accepted thing. That really, really would. But they've got palisades around these things, so people just can't simply just fall into the mud. It does make more sense. They've got these nice open gateways, but all of these ideas might be real or not. But we just, even though the problem is, I've said this before, sometimes we've got so much archaeological evidence that it helps us very little, because it gives us more questions than answers. So, right, Richard, back to you.
Well, I'm just saying, most bogs start as lakes. And it's the ingress of all stuff growing and weeds, and they slowly turn into a bog.
Yes. And the water might have been somewhere else. Yeah, all of these things we don't really know the levels. Yeah. So oh, by the way, Tom, by the way, Ruth, Tom is sending your love, and he's really pleased that he sees you today, and he's looking forward to seeing you Monday. Right, anything else you want to say, Ruth?
No, I've got to go.
All right, then go on then.
I've got to go because I meant to have Skittles tonight.
Oh,
but I'm going to see one of my friends a minute.
Okay.
All right then. Nice to have you on tonight, Ruth, and we'll see you next Monday then, Ruth. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Tom gives his love. Right, Pat, anything you want to say?
I'm surprised there's no bones. Should be some bones, isn't there?
Yeah, we're not getting much in the way of bones at Must Farm either. We've only got one set of human remains at Must Farm, and that was there before the site was abandoned. And we don't have anything in the way of bones here either. It might be a biochemical problem. We're not really sure. Yeah, it's a really good point. We're not getting bones. There is in an image a set of one human remains, but then again, one human remains doesn't make a whole. And we're not getting much in the way of animal bones either. So yeah, that's a really good point. Yes. Right. Okay. Good point, that Pat. And finally, we'll ask. By the way, we will be finishing tonight at 9:30, so we're going to have like a 10-minute break, so I can have a cup of tea. Yeah. Henry. So anything you want to say, love?
It was really on the back of what Pat was saying that any finds of human remains. Because I've done some reading and I can't find any reference at all to human remains.
Where are we?
In Scotland.
Yeah, I showed you a map earlier on.
In Scotland?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing is for construction, Gough might know, but is it quicker to build on a boggy land to actually put structures up very quickly?
Actually, that is a really practical point. Right. The main thing with living, you need to be able to build structures as fast as you can. And in the modern day and age, for example, we like to build structures really fast, and they eventually turn out to be pretty poorly built. And that's what we're seeing with lots of buildings being constructed today. Right. When you build them fast to house people, they're not really well built, right? And you don't really care where you place them. These people put that's the point. These people have put a lot of investment into this site. They already had an eye to planting trees to be felled at a certain time to be used in the construction of this site, right? And they said, right, they knew what the landscape was like, but they still built there. And I think this is the intriguing problem of trying to understand the archaeology. These people planned this, right? But in the same time, Henry, they built them really quickly. So, yeah.
Well, maybe they knew they were going to be inundated with water.
But the thing is, right, the archaeological evidence tells us that they were quite happily living there. So So
Yeah.
you know, we're
It's
not really getting that.
temporary accommodation.
No, but it's not there. They lived there for over 200 bloody years. That's the point.
But
It wasn't temporary at all.
it might have been easy to reconstruct what, the house.
But we got there's no evidence saying that that happened either. They're living there, and they're not they're the central hearth. That's going into the muds or whatever. But it doesn't necessarily mean to say that the muds weren't fairly stable. For example, you build anything on mud, it's gonna subside unless you've got a solid base. It's just gonna subside, right? So. Anyway, anybody else got anything else to say? So what we're going to take a break now. By the way, there's a final comment. Tom says, "I love Anne's hair."
Oh, thank you, Tom. It's going natural now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, guys. We're going to have a quick break, and we'll be back soon. 10 minutes.
Okay, we're going now.
And back at 8:50, and stop interfering with God.
I know he's oh dear, I'm going. Oh, I'm just wondering, I'm thinking of making a cup of coffee. I'll make a pot of tea as well, shall I?
Oh, I had to come on, guys, to sort of share my donut with you. Whoa, it's halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer. On. What the hell? What? Oh, it's halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer. The hell? Where's the echo on there? People, don't forget to like and subscribe. Right, okay. I want a donut. You can't have a donut. And by the way, right, somebody online has placed Anne's a wonderful human being. I'm sure she can figure out the chemistry. What? Ich bin ein Berliner. We've gone German now. They're not all back, Yakov.
I know.
So me and you can have a quick conversation. What's the next film you're going to see?
Conclave.
You're going to have to tell me what that's about.
It's about. It's a book by Robert Harris.
Yeah.
Who wrote Fatherland and many other books, and
Yeah.
it's about the Pope being elected. But the Vatican.
What? But when?
Oh, not so long ago.
Is it like a comedy?
No. It's a serious one.
Right.
Did you know have you heard of his book Act of Oblivion?
No.
It's about the Civil War in the UK, in Britain, when the parliamentarians escaped to America and they were chased by the king.
Oh, right.
It's called the Act of Oblivion, where they all had to be killed. And he wrote a really good book about it. So it's a novel based on historical novel, like Fatherland, about what would happen if Hitler had won the war. What would Britain be like? And one of his books, Conclave, is about electing a pope, and it's out at the end of this month, actually.
Oh, right. Well, you need to let us know. It's not my type of thing, that. So you're gonna have to let me know.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, it's not a lot of, not like Gladiator 2.
Does Eleanor have a choice what bloody film you see, or is it?
She falls asleep anyway. You know, I wanted to ask you about Gladiator 2. I haven't researched it, but the emperor in it this time is Caracalla.
Caracalla, yeah.
Who supposed he killed his brother, didn't he, or something?
There was I've got to remind myself about that Caracalla. So Caracalla actually had those wonderful bars outside Rome. And he was a bit odd, to say the least.
That's what, yeah. He's portrayed in the film as being well, they're brothers. But I think they don't think the film's factually right, is it? But
No.
But yeah, Caracalla. So that was about 300, wasn't it? Still 200.
No, Caracalla. Yeah, I've got the date. So you've got Caracalla. Yeah, basically Caracalla was, yeah, the Caracalla. Yeah, I'm just reminding myself. So you've got the Emperor Septimus Severus, who was campaigning in Britain. And I think the dates are right. I wish I should check these dates now. Around 211, 212, or somewhere around there. Septimus Severus died, and Caracalla was elected emperor. And for 1 year only, the center of the Roman Empire was Eboracum, York. And apparently Caracalla set off, his reign was fairly okay to start off with, and something in his head went, and he went a bit nuts.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to check that out myself. Yeah, I shouldn't have asked you that off the top of my head.
So he was technically, he was emperor alongside Septimus Severus's father, right? But it was only on the death of Septimus Severus, roughly about 211, 212. I'll just check the dates here. That he actually becomes sole regent of the Roman Empire, the sole purple. Yeah, Geta, yes. It was Geta, I do believe, was, hang on, Geta was the Roman emperor with his father. Oh, right. And yes, it was, yeah, Geta. You're talking about Geta, Caracalla, and Caracalla had Geta killed or something like that. Yeah, gonna have to look this up. He didn't want to share power anymore.
Have you seen?
So yeah, no, I haven't actually seen the film. No, yet. No. The problem is, right. I've got a woman that doesn't like seeing violent films, right? So when we saw Napoleon, she wasn't too impressed, right? She didn't want to go and see Joker, which really upset me, which was extremely violent.
Yeah.
She's a normal person like me.
Hang on, so you're saying Goff isn't normal? What a shame.
No, she's a normal woman like me, not a man.
Who says you're normal, huh?
Who's normal?
You, are you normal?
Oh, you know.
No, I don't know.
No, I don't know.
I mean, look, you know what I mean.
No, I don't.
Do we?
Look, Pat and I don't like violent films. So Michelle is normal. That's 3 against 1.
People like violent films.
You know,
Violent,
we don't like
violent film.
because, you know, what would we do with violent people? We just
Shut up! I'm going to get on with the lecture because I'm losing the plot here. You're cramping my style. Goff's even gone off now.
I'm gonna turn myself off.
And you can't turn yourself off. But by the way, somebody's commented on you. Michelle is a goddess. Yeah, well, that's okay. That's okay. Right, okay. Yeah, right. We're gonna crack on. I don't know where the friggin' hell we are now. Right. I gotta get my notes. And you can't go. I need to play with you online because I'm a bit out of sorts a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bit out of sorts. But basically, right, we've got to get back to where we were. We're looking at that entranceway into one of the other buildings. This is like and shut up. This is after 30 years of one of the buildings, one of the initial buildings, which was originally built in 435. We know that. We've already done that bit. And looking at this, what we've got is they're using the dendrochronology, which alongside the radiocarbon dating evidence, we've got that date there, don't we? 435. Yes, we do. When the buildings were constructed, and that's also confirmed by radiocarbon dated evidence. So we've got all this wonderful evidence from all these timbers from the site. And what we've got here, we've got all these model plans of calibration. We're not doing any of this, but the fact of the matter is, look at this plan. Look how complicated these structures are. Right, they are extremely complicated. Right, so what we've got is the internal workings. Look at the hearth there, the stone hearth, the stone hearth which was rebuilt over and over again. And what we've got logs alongside the stone hearth, the sort of curbing as well. And what we have there is on the inside of the building. What we've got these sort of sill beams, right? Which are these things, right? And what they've got is this stuff here, and the panels that were mounted in these sill beams, right? These internal partitions. So actually, this is a very different building. So instead of being an open plan building, which you've got the hearth here and you can see all the way to the outside wall, what you've actually got, you've got an internal division. You've got several different zones. If we think about access, and let's just do a bit of access analysis. We loved my access analysis, didn't we? So what we've got, we go into the building here. Hang on, let me get the plan. Okay, get rid of that. So what we've got, we go into the building, and you've got a choice. You can go left alongside this bit, which is partitioned from the internal area that goes around the fireplace, or you can simply go directly from the outside into around the fireplace. So the access analysis is working in a very different way. And also the other amazing thing, we know that this had plank walling, because from the archaeological plan, this is the flat archaeological plan as everything collapsed. These are all the planks from the outside of the building. So they've all sort of fallen outwards. So in other words, the partitions have actually, if we zoom in on this a minute, the partitions from these sort of sill slot beams here, all of these have fallen outwards here. Yeah, and then what we've got is, if we go back out, then all the timbers, if they've collapsed from the building proper, has actually collapsed outwards as well. All the plank built structure. So again, this whole process is allowing us to see how the building would have been constructed. A bit like what we got on Must Farm. Somebody's actually telling us as well. I don't know if you want a scientific fact, but Anne's boyfriend online, the dodgy git, has actually said that bog iron is an association with iron oxides mixed with oxygen and hydrogen to produce bog iron. And that's a scientific equation. Somebody online wanted to share that specifically with Anne. I don't know why, Anne. But this next object is absolutely out of this world. It really, really is. And I got to say that we're joined by Elise also online, who's also from the United States, right? And she's joined us tonight. So we got a bit of Elise as well. So it's actually good to have her online. And what we are gonna say is that this next object here is very, very special. And why is this object very, very special? This was also found on the site. And does anyone know what this is? Anyone have any idea what this is? But this is 2,300 years old. And some people think that this is a niddy noddy.
Musical instrument?
No, they think it's a niddy noddy. Do you know what a niddy noddy is? Do you want me to explain what a niddy noddy is? Let's do what a niddy noddy is, right? A niddy noddy, right, is a tool used to make yarn. It consists of a central bar with crossbars at each end, offset from each other by 90 degrees. The central bar is generally carved to make it easier to hold. Either one of the crossbars will have a flat edge to allow the yarn to slide off. So if I show you what a niddy noddy looks like, you can understand that this might be part of a niddy noddy, right? And I'm not making this up. Some people online think I'm making this up, but I'm not making this up. It's a niddy noddy. I don't know if anyone's ever seen a niddy noddy, but we're going to do a niddy noddy now. An N-I, a niddy. They don't have these in Ireland. They just call them those wooden things. And shut up, Anne. You know what a niddy noddy is? Right.
No. No.
Right. There's a niddy noddy.
Oh. Oh.
That's a niddy noddy. It could actually be part of a niddy noddy.
Yes, I think it's got another name.
No, it's there, Anne. It's online. Niddy noddy. You can buy a niddy noddy today. It's
Yeah,
a
but they
niddy
didn't have
noddy.
IKEA then.
You can, and right, and there is that you can buy niddy noddies, right?
Okay.
And it could be a niddy noddy, right?
It could be.
So they possibly found a niddy noddy on site, right?
It could be a chair leg.
It could even be a chair leg. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, shut up, you. We're going to crack on with where we were, right? And let's go back to our niddy. Where's our niddy noddy, Anne? There is another image of the niddy noddy, right? So we're going to crack on. Anne, I don't know where I am now. I've lost the plot, right? I've lost my notes. Do you know? Oh, Anne, did I ever tell you when when I'm doing these presentations, occasionally my notes disappear from the screen, right? I was actually given a guided walk at Langford Place once, right? And there was this goat in the church graveyard, right? I actually had notes with me, right? Unknown to me, as I was fondling the goat, right? The goat ate my notes. So when it came to doing my presentation, I had to say to everybody, I haven't got much to say to you today because the goat ate my notes. Anyway,
That's a real schoolboy excuse, that is.
It's not a schoolboy excuse. Shut up, you tart. Anyway, guess what this is made of? Not Goff. Henry, can you guess what this is made of? A very rare object in an archaeological context, and you don't often find this wood. What's it made? What wood is it?
Walnut.
Shut up, you! This is in freaking Scotland 2,300 years ago.
Oh, it'll be
I'm not asking
Ash.
you, I'm asking Henry.
Ash.
No. Oh, here's a clue. Here's the biggest clue. The oldest tree in Scotland is in Fotheringay in Scotland, and it's over 3,000 years old. So what tree is it?
Oh, yew tree.
Yes, it's a yew tree, and it says in my notes, we're overexcited with this mystery wooden object, and it's back in the lab. There it is, from the Black Loch of Myrton. They've probably worked out there is a spindle turned object, so it's actually turned on. It's a wood turned object, right? So Dendra could. Well, yes, yes.
Taking bottle corks out of a bottle.
It's not, Anne. Shut up. Right. Anyway, it is. It's made on a lathe, so it's turned. It's a wood turned object. So they're really struggling with what this is, and you've got that little thing there that something may have slotted in there. And this mystery object was found in earlier deposits, buried in the floor sequence. It was actually buried underneath the floor. Lots of people have come up with really weird things. Utilitarian function. They said it could be for separating sailing ropes on a boat. It could actually be part of a folding stool. It could be a spinning wheel. It could be a niddy noddy. Even some people have suggested it's a dildo. It could be a cheerleader baton. Other people have actually mentioned that. Is it for spinning? Is it for making rope? What is it? Is it ceremonial? This is an object that is very, very special, well carved, and unbelievable. We'll show you another image now. Do you know what? That's its scale. So when you think it's a niddy noddy, right? It could be part of a niddy noddy, but it's part of a bigger niddy noddy, right? And there's two holes in it. There we go. There's one there, and there's one there. So there you go. It's a
It
great.
also looks like something to do with a bagpipe.
I actually thought that, but it's not hollow.
Oh,
It's not hollow. It's not hollow. I told you about the time that I rang the neighbour's door at 3 in the morning, and because he was Scottish, and I did Donald, where's your trousers outside his doorstep. He wasn't too impressed. But anyway, so I got some other interesting stuff to show you as we go on, as we get towards the end bit. Now this here is also turned on a lathe. Right, it's another little weird wooden object, and they found these wonderful things on site, including, look at this. This is made of twisted withies. Basically, it's the bit of the softwood that you actually get. It's the end bits that you actually get from willow, right? All the thin bits, and you flatten them out and withies. That's what this is. So lathe turning at Black Black Loch. And so at Myrton, there we go. I had to put that in. By the way, and look at Dumfries and Galloway, and this is exactly where this is. So most of these finds are coming from 2015, 2019. The fascinating detail and the work to try and understand this Iron Age settlement. Now, when we refer to this thing as a crannog, obviously it's built on damp land, but a typical crannog is a crannog that are in lakes and sort of the likes of lochs and so on. And we've obviously got Llangor's crannog, the one that I mentioned earlier on, a Brycheiniog. Now, obviously, some of the most exciting finds they're saying are the lathe turned. There's a lathe turned bowl, right, which they actually found a whole bowl, which when after they had excavated, the whole thing just fell apart. But I showed the others on Tuesday all those weeks back. I might be able to find one on the internet before the end, so remind me about that. But all these other wonderful little objects where they have actually been made on a lathe. But other than that, the preservation of objects like this is unbelievable. It's actually really small. You can see that this is 3 centimeters in width, right? And it's obviously been elongated, right? So they're saying that one of the major highlights from the excavation was obviously finding this little object, a little circlet of twisted withies. And they're basically arguing over what this was. Was it for securing a lid to a wooden bowl, perhaps? What is this? And they've only excavated a small percentage of the site. In fact, they've probably excavated. When you think about Must Farm, they've excavated what they could at Must Farm because all the rest had been destroyed or whatever. So they excavated a big chunk of it. But this site, they've probably excavated maybe 1/10 of the site. So there's a lot more. They haven't been able to excavate all of it because they just didn't have the funding. They only had £15,000 to excavate this site, which is a very small amount of money for an archaeological team to actually excavate. But naturally, they've come up with these absolutely beautiful results, telling us a beautiful, homogenized story of the Iron Age, and a story that wouldn't be with us if all this wooden stuff hadn't survived. So it's absolutely amazing. And obviously these objects that we don't really know what they are. Now, one thing that I mentioned is that if you refer to this as an artificial island on damp, muddy ground, right, as a crannog, but it's not quite a crannog. The definitions of a crannog, as I said, are on basically a little man-made island within a loch, or a man-made island within a lake, or basically there's a little bit of a rise in the lake and they put a load of boulders on it and make a little island. But there you've got one at Llangor's Crannog, which is Brecon Beacons. We do believe that. I think that I've always said that there was one found on Anglesey, but that's a little bit more difficult to find in the annals. We do believe that Stephen Clark excavated one outside Monmouthshire, but that was a lot earlier than these Iron Age examples. But most of these examples are from varying different dates, beyond the Iron Age. into the Iron Age, all the way through to more modern times. We've got crannogs being used in Ireland up until about the 1800s. But you can see that it's almost as if that line between England and Scotland, you go over the border, there's loads of crannogs, right? So, and the one at Loch of Leys Crannog is the one that they've reconstructed, and we mentioned that one before. And again, this shows you the diverse nature of the archaeology in Britain. But what we do have in, for example, just over the water in Somersetshire, in Glastonbury, we have what's called Lakeland villages that are technically not crannog, right? And what they basically are, that there's a little bit of marshy ground, like our Black Loch of Myrton site. And what they've done, they've built up a settlement within the sort of boggy, marshy ground with stones and all the rest of it. And that's what we get near in Glastonbury. So what we've got left is a conclusion. But before we actually go on to our conclusion, what we are going to do is we're going to, oh God, what was I going to do? We're going to go online and find this lathe made bowl that they've got from the site. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go with Black Loch of Myrton, black artifacts. Yeah, that's good. And hopefully we might be able to find an image of the bowl. The one I showed in the class a few weeks ago was actually, I think that's the bowl there, but there's another image.
You passed it. You passed
Yeah,
it.
I know. I know I've passed it, but there's another image on here. I'm trying to find the other one. Yeah, I know I've passed it. It's actually in the cabinet there, but what they basically found was that wooden bowl there, obviously made on a lathe. It was in a flattened state, and it just, but it obviously made of wood, but it was still with us today. Hang on a minute, that's glass. That's not a bloody wooden bowl. No, hang on a minute. When you said I've passed it, where is it?
Go up on the right hand side. Up.
I can't bloody see.
Go.
I was just I was just I was describing that glass thing as a wooden bowl.
Stop.
What?
You've gone past it. Go back up a bit. Just there.
Yeah, but that's the reconstruction.
Well, you asked for a bowl.
Yeah, that's the reconstruction. Why didn't somebody stop me when I was describing a glass bloody thing as a wooden bowl when it wasn't? It was a glass. Oh, I need to get.
We can't tell. You can't tell. We can't tell.
Yeah, but I can't be fobbing things off as glass things as being wooden bowls.
I've been to Dumfries and Galloway.
Wooden bowl. Right, let's see if we can find the wooden bowl now. That looked like wood, and then I realised it's a bloody glass. Right. Where is this wooden bowl? Hang on, Anne. There. Is that a wooden bowl? No, that's not it. Oh God, I wish I didn't do this some days. Wooden bowl, wooden bowl. Is that the wooden bowl there? That's Orkney's wooden bloody bowl. I don't want a wooden bowl from Orkney. Anyway, they found a wooden bowl there, which we can't find an image of, and basically, it was probably similar to this wooden bowl that they found in Orkney. So there we go. I made a right ass of myself. Right. Anyway, let's crack on. Where was I? Let's go to the last bit. Right. Cool. Let's do the conclusion now. Right. And basically, the dodgy git wants to know if he can have your phone number, Anne, to take you out on a meal. Do I give him your number, Anne? She's all gone quiet. So, the Black Loch of Myrton site is a site that gives us an environment of waterlogged archaeology and a fantastic level of organic preservation. Settlement of timber-built roundhouses being uncovered to give us detail of walls, planked walls that are up to 0.5 meter tall today. Is everybody still there?
Yes.
Good. It was a bit weird because Anne had shut up.
Yeah, that is surprising, isn't it?
Yeah.
She's 50p for the electricity meter.
Yeah. So obviously we got the flooring, we got the wicker panels, and we've got the various posts. We've got alder, mainly used for the flooring and some of the uprights. We've got loads of the oak evidence. We've got the hazel as well, and we've got some ash being used, and we've got the trackway going through the site, which is again, and that there is the trackway as it goes across the site. So it's absolutely it's got there. It's going across the site. Unbelievable detail there. And again, just a reminder that doorway is actually dating to 435 BC because the timbers there, we know the dating. Just think, we know the dating of that doorway from 435 BC. We know that somebody in 435 years BC walked across that threshold. Isn't that an amazing fact that we've got that level of detail? And the quantity. Oh no, obviously I said to Pat earlier on, we did find one set of human remains, but that's on the land. That's not really at the site, Pat. So that's within the vicinity, but not on the site. So that answers Pat's question. We don't really have much at all. We don't have any bones. It's probably because of the acids and everything that's there that isn't actually preserving the bones. Well, analysis of what we've got, they're still analyzing possible usage of other materials in the construction, like elm and maybe willow, and so on. But that's not with me today. So, and then what we've got around the site, we've got evidence of 3 series of palisades. And this level of chronological resolution is rare on prehistoric sites in the UK. And the work of the Black Loch should eventually result in the development of a long oak chronology, which will help in the dating of other Iron Age sites. And what we mean by that, a long oak chronology, right? Some of the timbers there, right, will obviously, we know, right? We know the dates when the trees were felled. So then what we do, we see I'll just show you on the screen what I'm talking about. So say for example, you've got a piece of timber from here. Hang on, let's get rid of that. Let's try and do this properly. You've got a piece of timber from here, right? That we know the felling date was 435 BC, right? We've got another site down the road, right? Now, within the sequence here, right, if I can get other lines in, there are tree rings, right? There are all these different tree rings, right, of different thicknesses, right? Down the road, they for example, this is metaphorical, down the road they found a tree which has got a timber, right, that matches these tree rings, right? And specifically that date 435. So we count back and we know that this tree originally grew from an oak, probably, if you want to say, 500 years BC, right? And then we know that that tree was cut down in X date. So then what you do, you count the overlapping rings all the way through, right? Which is calibrating it, which means that you've got a database, and you now know that timber here was felled, say, 350 years BC. So this is why the tree rings are so important, so that you can actually calibrate. You can calibrate, and this chronological resolution gives you a chronology that you can use across any site in Britain that you've got wooden material surviving. Finally, despite the survival of so much structural wood, and again, massive levels of preservation, the site hasn't produced much in the range of other artifacts. But we do have that wooden bowl, we do have those other wooden objects, lathe-turned objects, that spindle batten, they're calling it. What we can see is that there's an outstanding technical proficiency at the site, an aesthetic sensible in the way in which they have been decorated and finished, a level of accurate detail in how these structures were constructed and the wooden artifacts that we've actually found. This site itself has so much more to offer, but for today, we've gone into some of the details that help us understand a missing area of the book of Iron Age Britain that has wide-ranging effects and evidence that we can use elsewhere. So we're going to call that a day. People are commenting various things online, right? 2 people are demanding Anne's phone number, but I'm not going to give it out. We're going to call that a day. So we're going to find out if anyone's got any questions. And by the way, it's 9:24, so we finished 6 minutes early. So there we go. Mind you, I've been at this for over 2 hours with a 10-minute break and occasional interruptions, right? We're gonna find out how many times Anne interrupts Goff when he's talking. Right, Goff, anything you want to say?
It was a very interesting site, that. I was very surprised to hear they were turned in wood at that time. That's amazing. Yeah.
It is.
Okay, great. Thank you. Very good.
My pleasure. And the other point as well is, if we don't find these objects, then they obviously weren't turned in wood. But now we do find these objects. We know that they were. With what I've just said, in absence of evidence, we've got the evidence now. But the point is, in absence of evidence, we can't always be sure whether they have the technology or not, as you know from the Antikythera, Goff.
Yes, it's true.
So, do you know what, Goff, right? I know you weren't a fan, but the Indiana Jones film, The Dial of Destiny, right? I absolutely bloody love that film, and yeah, and it's all about the Antikythera device. It's great.
That's right.
It's a great.
Not enough violence in it.
Yeah. But Michelle liked it.
Okay.
Michelle liked it, and yeah. So we're gonna take a dustpan and brush the next time. I tell you what, Goff. When we went to bed that night after all the blooming popcorn, I found it in some strange places. Right. Mainly in her hair. Right, Richard.
Yeah, really interesting.
Good.
Nothing to add.
Okay, good. And Anne, have you got any? Anne, you've gone all quiet now.
Well,
Anne, go on.
I'm just just listening. I've just been listening.
All right.
Obviously, I'm interested that people, were trying to just stay in an environment and use decking and, decking.
Well, yeah, no, that's the word we use. Why not?
And, why not? Just if they got other things there, that they might have valued, like, well, I don't know, I suppose they could have fish, fish from the sea, not far away. Yeah, no, interesting. Thank you.
My pleasure. So right, we'll come to Pat Pat. Come on, put your mic on. But whilst we're waiting for your mic to go on, Henry, anything you want to say?
Very interesting. Just one quick question: have they got a likely spot for the managed woodland area?
Do you know what? That's a bit of a that when you've mentioned that, right? There might be a clue in why they're building where they're building, right? I'm going to call them Irish builders, right? The most valuable land is being used to grow things, and one of the things that they're growing is trees, right? These people are not stupid, right? So they're basically saying, right, we'll build over there, but everything else we're going to use productively. Where we're building, actually, this could be the answer. Yeah, actually, it might well be, and I'll tell you why in a minute. This is like one of those moments, right? We've got in the Neolithic period, right? In the Neolithic period, we're going to go with this a minute, right? It's really sound question. This goes back to Goths, actually, but I think we can make sense of this now. In the Neolithic period, I would say that they used some very valuable land in the Neolithic period for building monuments, avenues, cursus monuments, Avebury, Stonehenge, you name it. They're using some of their prime land for monumental things. Up on the sides of hills in the early part of the Neolithic, so we're talking about 6,000 years ago, you've got causewayed enclosures, not really productive. But if you go to the Salisbury Plain, what you see is a predominance of the landscape, the best agricultural land being taken out of productive use by these sodding monuments, right?
Mm.
When you get into the Bronze Age and the Bronze Age develops, there's a reaction to this, and we're seeing this a lot in Ireland as well. We really do. There's a domination in Ireland of lots of the prime land. New Grange, that would be perfect for planting crops, and there's several new Granges in Ireland. And you're thinking, what a waste of agricultural space, right? And by the time you get into the Bronze Age, people are learning that there's too much valuable land being taken up with stupid things, right? And one of those stupid things, I'm going to say it, is habitation, right? When you look at Switzerland, along the lake margins of Switzerland, you get stilted buildings. And you get this in the Yamon culture of Japan as well. You get stilted constructions along the lake margins in Switzerland. Why don't they just put them in the hills on the slopes in places that whatever? But they don't. They use those areas for grazing. They use those areas for agriculture that they can offer in places like Switzerland. So maybe the real answer tonight is why they're building in these marginal lands, like Star-Carr, where we see Star-Carr over 8,000 years ago, 9,000 years ago, where that's in like a glacial, boggy landscape, right? And the richer land is used for grazing and farming, right? And maybe we're seeing that at Flagfen near Peterborough and Must Farm, that the good land, those little islands, those little islands are used for agriculture and farming, right? The people are living away from the islands so they can get the best out of the land. And that might be the answer to your question. Where they're planting trees, they're not living, Henry, because those trees are going to be valuable in future generations. And we know that because they're felled at a certain level of time. And that is a classically good question. And we're probably getting closer to the answer than we could have ever done without that question. Thank you very much. You've done a curveball there and we've got in there. Anything else, Henry?
No, I'll just send you the bill later.
I've done all the bloody work there. So no. Pat, anything you want to say, love?
Oh.
Go on, Pat. We need to hear you. Go on, Pat. I gotta say something.
I'm back. Sorry.
I gotta say something sublime in a minute, Pat. So you do your bit, and I'm gonna do my bit.
I gotta say something.
Just to say, I like the little objects they found. You know, they were so curious and so strange and unique.
Yeah.
You know, I'd never seen anything like that. The things that were on the turning wheel. You know, we don't usually hear about wood being turned. You know, so
No, we don't. And it's just like we know pottery was turned on the wheel towards the end of the Iron Age. We know that because it's too perfect not to be made on the wheel, right? But lathe made bowls, you can't not see the difference between a lathe made bowl and a handmade bowl. There's no comparison. They're really not, right? Unless you spend years on every single turn detail made by hand to make it replicate in lathe. But it's absolutely, I think that detail is key to understanding what we're looking at with this amazing landscape.
Yeah, unique. Thank you.
Unique. But Pat, look at this. Stonehenge is unique, right? And when you start looking at sites that are unique in Britain, right, there are lots of them, because we've only got between 1% and 5% of our prehistoric landscape surviving, right? So anything that we do see is unique, right? Because they represent the other 95% that's gone. Then they're not necessarily unique in the context in the past, but for the discovery today, they are massively unique. Very good point. Right, Anne, I want you to say something, and Peter Sampson's going to have the last word tonight.
Okay. Just to say that the watch or fob, whatever we saw, was found in Newcastle Bridgend, near the castle, and
Good.
I said it looks almost Civil War. But I don't know.
I will have a look, Anne, and I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah. Okay.
I would like to say thanks for that. I would like to say one final thing about Peter Sampson. You know, our excursions that we used to have in the past were very important, but large numbers of the people who used to do our excursions are either no longer with us, or we're just getting a bit long in the tooth. But one of the things that Peter's biggest regret was that he didn't actually come with us on the Cornwall trip, the last Cornwall trip. And he so really wanted to go to that, and the pandemic got in the way. And so the final thing that I'm going to do at his funeral is actually take along a Cornish flag, which was his one main love.
Yeah.
And yes.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd put that in there at the end.
Yeah.
And people online are saying Peter was a lovely bloke as well. So what I'm going to do, the last point I'm going to make now is to tell you, I'm going to get my diary and I'm going to tell you what we're doing next week, and we're going to call it a day. So I'll tell you what we're doing next week first, and then we're going to call it a day. So let's. I should know. I did tell them last night. So we're going to be looking at vitrified forts in Huddersfield, a vitrified fort in Huddersfield, and vitrified forts overall in the Iron Age. And we're going to be looking at Heinenberg in Germany versus Maiden Castle, and we're going to be making a comparison of those two sites somehow. Has anyone got anything else they'd like to say before we finish?
No.
Okay. I really appreciate everybody's time, and I'll look at any images and stuff that people have sent me. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to say good night to Goff, Richard, Pat, Anne, and Henry, and everybody else who knows me.
Bye.
Night, folks. Night. And everybody online is saying good night, and I'm going to speak to everybody online as well. So thank you very much, Henry and Anne. And I'll wait for you guys, and then I'm going to have a chat with everybody online.
You go ahead. Yep.
Night, Henry.
Good night.
Night, my lover. Right. Anyway, those people who have actually joined me online tonight, I'm gonna stay on with you for a few more moments. We've got 9 of you online. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I want to keep you online. Those that know that we're filming at this minute a wonderful series called Wildfire Outbreak UK, and if you can get on over to our other channel, please everybody subscribe to our other channel, which I'm putting in the link now. It's the Walking Dead UK. Just join that, subscribe to that. That would be absolutely great. And I'm going to say a few other things. My channel here, Karl-James Langford's channel here. If you want to join, press the join button. There's the join button there. If you do join and make a donation, each month it's £1.99. We do this content on a Tuesday and a Wednesday every single week. And I really appreciate everybody's time. And yes, it does help when I get that when I get that money through from YouTube. It really does help, and I really appreciate everybody online. And again, I'm talking about the money side of things as well. And I want to all ask you a big question. So if anyone wants to make a donation to buy me a coffee, which I know a couple of you have done this before, that really helps. So that's the monetized side of things. I wanted to ask you all, right? If I was to at this minute, I'm doing a series online, which is the Roman series, right? And you know, should we do my Roman images? Have I got my Roman? Oh no, I haven't got my Roman images on you. I haven't, but I'm doing a daily Roman series online about the Romans every single day. It's like a 59-second. It's a YouTube short thing that I do every single day about the Romans. It has to be a stone Roman era site in Britain, and I look in that every single day. Right now, I know you guys, you're still with me now, and again, please like and subscribe. But if I was to do a live on any other day of the week, right? How would you like me to do another live? Do you want me to just talk like this, any old stuff, right? We can look at the box, and we can do any old stuff. Oh, there we go. We should make a series about Roman acting stuff. Yeah, we should all dress up. We should do Barry in the year 3 AD 300, right? Bodging about dressed in Roman stuff in a field. Well, I've got a field, Tom. We can have a building, and we've got a miniature village, and we could build a film set out here, Tom. Right. Yeah, that sounds good. We could do a speakeasy on a, yeah, I like the idea of a speakeasy, dodgy git. Right, I really do. And I don't know what Elise would say. Right, do you like my hair? Does it look like somebody from the 1960s? Right, do you know I should have a shave sooner or later? Right, I'm waiting for a film shoot. Right, and anything that's being daft. Right, well, okay then. What daft stuff that we could do? Ooh, not in a field. Ooh, not in a field. We can't do. Hey, Tom, what we could do, right? We could do up the studio like as like a miniature Roman villa, right? And we could do Barry, right? Who keeps bloody texting me on you? Yeah. Yeah, I got people texting me. Yeah, I got people texting me. Yeah, and get a message. Right, so don't shave. We need continuity on Walking Dead UK. Hang on a minute, right? I'm not actually right. Hang on a minute. I'm not actually an actor in Walking Dead UK. I'm a bloody director, for God's sake. It smells dad. City folks move to country and buy farm, right? Yeah, that's me. I'm not a city folk. I'm a Barry scum. I'm total Barry scum. I'm the lowest of the low, right? Hey, should we try and find some? What the fuck do I do with this cow, mum? What the hell's that about? Hey, guys, should we do a bit of politics? Can we do a bit of politics? Right? Should we do a bit of politics? Anyone want me to do a bit of politics? Right? Yeah. So yeah, I tell you what, let's go over let's just kill it. I mean Brixton. What do you mean Brixton? What the hell? Who wants to go to Brixton? Brixton's a dive. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's a bit like that place that Tom comes from. It's an absolute crap place, you know. Oh, somewhere up by get Billericay. Oh my God. Billericay. Tom, I can't say that online about Keir Starmer. I cannot say about Keir Starmer and a certain anatomy, right? I'm not allowed to say it because, ma'am, me, Warner trainers got chicken on it. What the hell? What? I don't get it. I don't get it. Do you know what, right? Do you know what I'm supposed to be doing after this, right? I've gotta remind myself, what have I eaten today? Right? I've had 2 pieces of toast this morning. Right. I've had half a big bag of crisps. Right. And by the way, AI is actually recording all of this. Oh my God. Do you know I get an AI report? So everything I do after the class is finished, right? There's an AI report. So when I say to AI, everything that I'm talking about now, right? It should be put in a separate category of the AI report. Right? It should be. Yeah, it really, really should be. Right. Milk comes from a Tesco, right? It does. It certainly does. Joe, tonight I'm supposed to be writing a letter. And I'm supposed to be doing some book writing. I'm supposed to be doing 2 scripts, right? For the wildfire outbreak, right? And do you know, I could, hey, guys, do you want me to look at Tom? This would have to go live on air, right? But it's on the wrong station, right? I could show you a script now, right? For the next Walking Dead scene that we're doing, right? Yeah, in Wildfire Outbreak. I could show that on the screen. Oh God. Oh, God. The content on the chat is not really good. It's really dodgy. You know, you shouldn't be talking about things like that. Tom, do you know how old Tom is? Right, he's only Tom, right? He's only 16, right? And he shouldn't even be on, right? His mummy and daddy should have put him to bed. Now Tom has got 4 children and he's 16 years old. It's terrible. Terrible. That's what happens when you're in Barry. It's just not on, right? It's just really wrong. Right. So I'm going on here, right? And I'm looking, and do you know what? Right, my subscribe. I've been having more. I've been having my subscribers are actually increasing on my YouTube channel, right? But for some strange reason today, it's been a bit all over the place. So we've actually got on reflections on archaeology tonight. We've still got a load of people watching, right? We've got loads of people watching. I don't know. We've got 59 people watching apparently. Help is available if required, I'm sure. She said what? Oh, that's just sick, Tom. That's sick. Has anyone ever seen the series Prisoner Cell Block H? I've really been into Prisoner Cell Block H, and I've been watching the recent. I've been watching the last one, which is what's the episode? The last episode? What, episode 992 or something? And yeah, it's really good. I've been getting back into Prisoner Cell Block H. I don't know why. I really don't know why. Do you know what? Right, I should have been finished by now. I should have been finishing by now. I can't be on all night. You know, some of us have got work to do, right? And unlike Tom, you know, he just sits around looking after his children all day. You know, nothing normal. Um, Badgers. What the hell is a honey badger? Dodgy Git, come film Walking Dead UK with us on Monday. Right. He might. But the thing is, Dodgy Git doesn't even live in Wales. I don't even know where Dodgy Git, you need to tell us where you are. You need to tell us where you live. Right. That has to be done. Has to be done there. And why is he called the Dodgy Git, Tom? Do you know why? Why is he called the Dodgy Git? Dodgy Git. How would that be beneficial to either party? What we talking about? I don't know what anyone's talking about anymore. Like the question is, has Dodgy Git actually has Dodgy Git actually I don't know. I I don't know. What am I doing now? I've gone all quiet, haven't I? Yeah, I've really gone quiet. I got to respond to one of these texts. Like, bit dodgy in it. Why are we constantly getting symbols about iron? Right? Who cares? I don't care. I really don't care. I'm not really interested. I really don't care at all. You know? I really don't care at all. You know? It's just like I don't understand. Right? I really don't. What the hell is that on there? What the hell is that? An M? Well, I don't even know what that is. That sounds wrong. That really does sound wrong. I got to work out what I'm gonna have to eat tonight. Right? It's your entire site. What? What's that mean? It's your entire site. It's the reason the sites are there. For fuck's sake. Jesus wept. What? Tom, help me out, man. I don't know what's going on. Tom, I really don't know what's going on. I really don't. God. We've still got 7 people online. What's in the ground? Yeah, iron. I know, it's iron. Why do I constantly keep getting invites to date Ukrainian women? I don't even like Ukrainian women. Do you know what I mean? Why would I want to date a Ukrainian woman in the first place? Anyway, I just gotta do this and have a look now. Tom, we haven't managed to convince anybody on here to join the Walking Dead UK. We've actually convinced nobody, right? Nobody on here has actually joined the Walking Dead UK. No one. No one has actually watched it. Who's watching porn? Ketchup. How to cope with death, right? Tom, well, what we'll do, right? We'll show everybody now. We'll go on to the Tom. We're gonna do something amazing, right? We're gonna do something amazing now, right? Okay. What we're gonna do, right? Okay, go to there. Right. What we're gonna do, Tom? We're gonna do some special technology, right? We're gonna go to screen, right? We're gonna go to screen, right? And we're gonna show Dodgy Git what he's missing. We got to get him to subscribe to the channel. Right. Okay. So where Tom? Tom. Where's my thing? I don't want bloody dead ringers. Oh no, it's all gone wrong. Oh, there, YouTube. Right. So on YouTube, right? On YouTube, we're going to type in at The Walking Dead, right? So what we want, right, is everybody on here to watch at The Walking Dead. There we go. We want people to watch this channel, right? Now, this is a report by the legendary Harold Shafe, right? Oh, thanks for that, Black Patches Dog. How long have you been there? Oh, Tom, I know who will join our channel at The Walking Dead. It will be Black Patches Dog. We Tom, we need to get right. So we need to get so at The Walking Dead UK. Can everybody on here please subscribe to our channel at The Walking Dead UK? So what we're trying to do is trying to get 300 subscribers by the end of the year. So we can start, we can probably go in stronger and stronger as we release bits of Wildfire Outbreak. We really appreciate everybody's support. If people can actually please join the channel, right? So if we who is Gera Gibson? Right, so if we go to there, oh, go to there. Yeah. So guys, you've got to get on The Walking Dead now. End of story. Right. It's at The Walking Dead. You've got to get onto it. There we go. Bloody silly helicopters. Anyway, how is it Black Patch's dog has only just come on? I have seen a few clips, but I thought it was your TikTok thing. No, no, Black Patch's dog. We've got actually a channel on here, right? So it's no, it's a separate thing. It's film stuff. So if you can get onto our YouTube, and actually, click on to at The Walking Dead UK. That would be brilliant. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. And in a few minutes' time, I'm going to have to go. Do you know what, guys? I might have the odd sessions soon where we talk absolute crap, right? Any old books, right? And even referring to, even do some political stuff, right? That we can get away with, which is not a lot, you know. So yeah, it's for yes, it is. Not many people know who AMC is, but Black Patch's dog will sure do. He will do. He will do. So cool. Right, guys. Anything you want to ask me before I go? Yes. And Black Patch's dog, it was a big shame to see Pete going. And he passed away on Friday. I only spoke to him a few hours before. He was in hospital. He said he had heart problems, and he said that he probably had to have stents, and it wasn't getting any better. And he just passed away in the afternoon on Friday. So if I hadn't phoned, I wouldn't have spoken to Pete. So that's it, really. No, it hasn't frozen. I'm still here. I'm still here. So I'm going to call this a day. Right. I'm going to say goodnight, and we will be back on next week. And we'll be back on next week at the usual time, which is 7:00. No, 7:30 on 7:30 on Tuesday. And we'll be back on at 7:30 on. No, on Wednesday we're on a bit earlier. So if you come on Wednesday about 7:00, we've already started stuff, right? We've already started stuff on Wednesday, right? So if you wanna do that, we've usually already started. Yeah, that's the one. So that's it. 100%. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna say goodnight to everybody. And really appreciate everybody joining us. And finally, if anyone wants to send a donation over to buy me a coffee, I will be very, very grateful. Every penny helps the cause. I don't know why. Always seems that my bills are always increasing. So if anyone wants to make a donation to buy me a coffee, then they can. And so we are going to go. We're going to call it a night. There's only 4 people online now. We're going to call it a night. So Tom needs to go to bed. Thanks for joining us, Black Patch's dog. Elise, thanks for joining us. The old Git, thanks for joining us. And somebody earlier on, the archaeology guy, thanks for joining us as well. That was good. And anybody else who's joined us. What was he called, Tom? He was called. What was that guy called earlier on? Country Boy Archaeology. Rent a knife. I sharpen for you. cuts for you. Huh? What the hell? Anyway, I'm gonna say goodnight. Oh yeah, we got comments in the chat box, right? So so comments in the chat box. Karl, I see and hear you, but not vice versa. Right. Bill said he's got no visual or audio. Sorry, folks, I have to leave now. Right. So I don't know why that was. Bill was online today, which was odd. We don't often see Bill. Good night, Elise. Good night, Elise. It's good to have you on board, and thanks for your continued support. It really is. It really is. And Elise, try and join our The Walking Dead UK if you can, Elise. That would be absolutely good. That would be good. Any more clicks for that and likes and subscribes on you builds up the channel. So I'm going to go into the chat for AI. AI, this is for you. So AI, message AI. This was chat number 1 from AI. Karl, I see and hear you, but not vice versa. So we didn't actually hear Bill tonight, but that's life. And Anne says, Bill said he's got no visual or audio. Right. Okay, fair enough. Bill's got no visual or audio. Bill said he has to go about 8:17, so we missed most of it. So sorry, folks, I have to leave now. And that's me. Well, I've got to leave as well. So that for AI, I have to leave. So I'm going to say, Nosta chi AI, diolch yn fawr chi, gwelwch chi eto, and night, night, boys, girls, and octopuses. No,